So tomorrow, you got a nice day set up tomorrow. But at 9 a.m. your time, noon Eastern time, tomorrow, the Reliaquest Bowl, former Outback Bowl, no more Bloomin' Onion, Alabama, Michigan. And you had a column that before I let you go off to media day, I have to yell at you.
Oh, yeah.
So Ari had a column last week saying Kalen DeBoer aced year one at Alabama because he recruited well. Can we just all agree to yell at Ari right now, like collectively? You lost to Vanderbilt and you lost 24-3 to a 6-6 Oklahoma team and missed the playoff. If you didn't make the 12-team playoff as the head coach at Alabama, you failed. This is not to say I don't like Kalen DeBoer or I don't think he's going to do a good job at Alabama. It is to say that there is a standard. He did not meet it. He failed.
Here's my thought process. You don't have to explain to me that Alabama fans want to make the playoff. Like that to me is, I got it. When they hired Kalen DeBoer, they hired the man in 36 hours?
Uh-huh.
And they hired a man who had never signed a top 200 player in his entire career, his entire existence.
Because he didn't coach at Alabama then?
Yeah. Alabama, or I mean, I guess Washington too, that had like 19 of them in the 2 years that, leading up to his leaving there.
Jimmy Lake did sign some, and then Kalen DeBoer developed them.
Yeah. Oh, so talent does matter, believe it or not. I was actually scared.
They were talented this year and lost to Vanderbilt.
No, I know, but I'm saying I was scared about his longevity there as a result of
that piece of it. I get you. I'm picking up what you're putting
from
down.
A longevity standpoint. Okay, so listen to me. I know Courtney Morgan pretty well. Okay, like Courtney Morgan is their personnel guy, and he was absolutely one of the best talent evaluators out there. Like he can go find a 2-star.
He's the one who found Mason Graham for Michigan.
Yeah, he was the GM or PP, the player personnel director, PPD at Michigan, and then at Washington, and they played each other. And like players that he brought to both places were important in the national championship game. I asked him about the Alabama way after he got the job, and he's like, "Yeah, that's not evaluating." And I was like, "Oh God." I was like, "Oh shit!" Like these people are actually going to Brian Harsin this thing because they do come from smaller places that cannot recruit or just cannot exist on that playing field.
Yeah, but they didn't do that.
And they went out and they didn't do that. Okay,
yeah.
So they went and got 9 guys in the top 100 in the On3 industry rankings in a single class, and in 2024 or 2025. That's a really hard thing to do. It's part of the reason why Nick Saban, in my opinion, is no longer the coach, because he doubted his ability to stack talent the way that he did. So if they are going to recruit at this level while also being really good in the portal, I didn't just give up on the notion that Kalen DeBoer is a good coach. So my first test for him was always going to be and was always about whether or not he could exist doing the most important part of the job, which is amassing classes that finish in the top 3.
The most important part of the job is winning to the satisfaction.
I know, but coming out in year one with a quarterback
that's part of the job. The talent acquisition is a part of the job. Yes,
but if Kalen DeBoer is a good coach, and I think we both can agree that he's a good coach, yeah, right? Or unless you gave up on him already.
I have not given up on him. No,
Alabama is going to be really good a lot if they keep this up. And to me, it's I thought the reverse was going to happen.
I thought funny
Alabama was going to be really good in year one because they got a bunch of players from Saban, and then it was going to get gradually worse. But it's actually healthy to be this way, to win 9 games in year one, recruit your ass off, bring in guys, because he lost a shit ton of players in the portal too. Alabama was talented, but it wasn't an obscene situation where Bama couldn't possibly lose to anybody. They've got to figure out who's replacing Milroe, but they also are set up for future success in a way that I doubted they would be. So if I'm an Alabama fan, I'm disappointed and angry, sure, that they didn't make the playoff in year one. But also, if I'm an Alabama fan, I can go into this offseason resting a little easier that at least my coach and the people who are putting together my roster not only get the job, but did it well at a time where
they're not. And the Alabama fans have been, the Alabama fans, I feel like, have been fairly reasonable for them about this entire situation. Also the first coach
in Alabama since 1931 to win 9 games in year one. So good for you, Kalen DeBoer.
So would you like to go to a college football playoff quarterfinal game? You can. You can get into the Peach Bowl right now for under $50. There's some great seats in the $100 range at the Peach Bowl. So you want to see Texas play against Arizona State, you can get in for a very good deal. The Rose Bowl tickets still in the triple digits. You know, it's not the easiest ticket in the world because it's a great game, beautiful location. The Sugar Bowl, though, Ari, there's lots of good tickets for Georgia and Notre Dame in New Orleans for under $100 right now. You can get them on Game Time. If you use the code Staples, you get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, of course. But take a look. And of course, with the GT Picks function on the Game Time app, it gives you the best deals relative to the market. I was looking at Sugar Bowl tickets today. You can get some pretty good seats for $85 right now. And that's going to be a hell of a game between Georgia and Notre Dame. So, hey, want to hit one of those games? Want to hit one of the bowl games? You got hey, if you're in Nashville and want to go see Iowa, Missouri today, they got those tickets on Game Time. You want to see Alabama tomorrow? Got those tickets on Game Time. Use the code Staples, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Again,
we're set up a little better than the other ones, though.
Andy,
can we agree on that?
Facts get in the way of my statistics, okay? So, like, listen, you don't have to explain to me that losing to Vanderbilt in Oklahoma in year one is bad. But as it pertains to what I needed to see in terms of tests of whether or not he would be successful there long term, it was never about wins and losses in year one, because I know he's a good coach. We've seen it happen over the course of his entire career. Were there some bad games this year? Absolutely. There were some bad games early on at Washington, too. Like, it happens. It's college football, and it's going to happen increasingly more and more every year with the way that these rosters are set up, because it wasn't like losing to Vandy when Vandy didn't have a pulse. They lost to a pretty pesky team that played the best. Like, that Vandy team that showed up that they would have beaten. Yeah, I know. And that was a bad game. And I'm not trying to excuse it. But in terms of, like, I feel better December 30th, 2024 about his long-term success probability than I did a year ago now. And it has nothing to do with
here's the thing about it. You're like, they're going to be good for a long time, for a lot of years. The job's to be good every year. It's Alabama. It's not Fresno State. It's not Washington.
And I can accept that.
It's not to be good most years. It's to be great every year. And that's the difference.
But that's going to change.
Maybe
it's going to change everywhere, because being good the way they were at the Saban era is no longer tenable.
What we talked about, telling the consumer what they want.
Oh no, I'm not telling what
Alabama
they want.
Fans are going to want what they want.
They're Alabama fans and Ohio State fans and Georgia fans are going to find out. They are going to F around and find out. I think in 15 years, your notion of success is going to be different. Because it's impossible. Like, we've been indoctrinated into this world where their two deeps could start every other place in the entire country. And that's just not going to be the case anymore. And losses are going to happen more frequently. And I don't know, maybe when the playoff is 32 teams by then, it won't matter because everyone gets in no matter what. Like, Alabama had a disaster of a season and we were arguing whether they should be in or not still. So, like,
I want to ask you this question that came up in the chat. I know you got to go. Yeah. You got to get to the media days.
Don't worry about it.
We're going to close on this one because I think it's interesting with this matchup in the bowl game. I apologize because I've lost the chat link, but someone asked, has anyone compared Kalen DeBoer and Sharon Moore in their first seasons? And I think this is a good comparison because DB asked the question. So Sharon Moore, I think, getting graded on a different scale because of what he was left with timing wise from Harbaugh versus what DeBoer, because DeBoer could actually do the portal in the winter. And like, he brought in Austin Mack, who was a quarterback that he had recruited, Jeremy Bernard, who was one of the, he was probably the fourth best receiver at Washington behind those three really good ones. He's obviously a big contributor for Alabama this year. Their center, they got from Washington. Like DeBoer had a better opportunity to stock that roster, whereas Sherrone Moore didn't because of the timing of Jim Harbaugh's exit. And that's really the difference 3 weeks can make, Ari. But how do we think Sherrone Moore did year one? It's obviously not a perfect job, but the beating Ohio State at the end of it excuses a lot of things, it feels like to me.
I think that the win over Ohio State illustrated that the culture that Michigan has in place is still in place. And I think that is a really good thing. Like, to me, like, and I've always been beaten up by about myself, and maybe I'm just wrong and think about it. And like, I get it sounds stupid because we keep score and records for a reason. But like, my main my main focus sometimes with year one guys isn't just what was their record. Okay, shut up.
Right.
Like, I think that, like, there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, and it's just like, okay, fine. So Kalen DeBoer flunked his first year because they lost 3 games. It's like, okay, fine, no discussion. That like there's no reason for a podcast. Just go by the numbers. It's a math equation. I think that there's nuance in sports, and like when On3 tweeted out the link to that column, I got a tidal wave of they lost to Vanderbilt. It's like, no shit, I know. You don't think I know that? Like, I know that. Like, you're not telling me something
but
I don't know.
Those people are all like, you're just giving us a contrarian opinion to shock us.
No,
that's what their
opinion.
Response was.
Would you rather them been 10-2 and gotten their asses kicked in the first round of the playoff with a number 17 recruiting class, or this?
Why not both? Why not have a top 5 recruiting class and make the playoff like Nick Saban did every year?
It could have been. Nick Saban's not the coach anymore because he wasn't sure that he could do that anymore. Just so you know.
Touche.
By the way.
Touche, Ari.
So, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just different now, man. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'm full of shit. But to me, what they did on the field this year was never going to be the chief indicator of his success likelihood. And what he did off the field and the way that he approached his job in a very difficult time to do what he did during a time in which the greatest coach of all time was like, I've had enough. I think that's good. So if you don't, and you just want to go Vanderbilt, that's fine. Go ahead, do that.
No, I want to go Oklahoma.
Okay, fine. Change Vanderbilt to Oklahoma. Okay, go ahead, do that.
Because that's a lack of preparation. But
at the same time, like, we talk about this sport for 4 days a week, 5 days a week during the season for an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. And we got to just acknowledge and accept that there's more nuance and discussion and there's more depth to the conversation than just Oklahoma.